Hey, welcome to a short little video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make your players think that you are a super genius who definitely had everything planned the entire time and not just making it up as you go along. But of course, it's completely made up the whole way. Nothing is ever planned and nothing goes according to plan. So first, there's this concept called Chekhovs Gun when it comes to writing stories or whatever. Basically, there's this Russian dude who's talking about plays, and he said if you have a gun in the first act, then the gun has to go off in the second or third act. And basically, what he's trying to get across is that if you have something in a story, it has to be important, it has to have a purpose. And so you'll see this in movies and stuff. When they're shooting a scene, every little detail is there for a reason. Every shot has a purpose. And this is great for storytelling because then when readers look back or whatever, they'll see it as foreshadowing, like, oh my gosh, it was right there in front of us the whole time and we had no idea. But when you're dealing with a bunch of hooligans in playing D&D, you can't really do it in quite the same way. You might have something laid out and you're like, oh, this teeny little plot device, the hammer on the table, is directly related to the bad guy's plan. So when they see and investigate the hammer, then they'll know and they'll connect the dots. But that's not how it works in reality. So what I recommend is kind of an alternative to Chekhov's gun, and we're going to call it Aaron's shotgun. Because what I want you to do is just throw a bunch of random shit out there. Just kind of sprinkle things along in your campaign, different details, kind of mini plot hooks, whatever it may be. And then whatever your players or party chooses to interact with and really lock onto, that is going to become important. So essentially, you're putting a bunch of stuff out there and then working backwards to connect the dots. So this is going to fall under the category of working smarter and not harder. Since you never really know what detail you put out that the party is going to lock onto and laser focus on, don't worry about it. Whatever they do choose, though, in between sessions, find a way to kind of connect the dots and somehow tie that into your plot. This might not always be the most fluid or logical thing that sort of ties it all together, but it really doesn't matter because it's all made up. And I think this works especially well with more kind of open campaigns and less adventures that are kind of tunneling you down this one certain direction. So, for example, in the main campaign that I'm running, it takes place in Eberron, which is a big kind of steampunky world full of a bunch of different... It doesn't matter. Not really important. It's cool, though. You should look into it. Anyway, so my players have an airship, right? Which means they get to go anywhere in the whole world. It's a massive continent, and then there's other places, too. So there's just absolutely no way that I am going to prepare for every little thing stop that they could make along the way. Instead, I take what they have done, kind of think about, okay, here's the main story arc. There's this woman called the Red Shepherd, and she is slowly kind of building this cult religion to take over the world and bring the dimension of dreams, Dalcor, kind of back into alignment with the planes and brainwash everybody and take over the world. So for all the random little side shit things that the players do that aren't necessarily directly related to this main plot, especially when I come up with it or I make it up on the spot because they're like, oh, we want to go do this, which is great. I love my players. But I try to somehow find a way to tie it all back in together, even if it's not obvious at the moment, and it probably won't be, but especially as they continue in the campaign and just see the bigger and bigger picture, all the pieces kind of slowly start coming together, and they're like, whoa, how did And it's important to remember that your players only know what you tell them, and they can only extrapolate so much information about the world based on what you give them. So, and another pro fucking tip right here is when you're giving your players this kind of random shotgun of details, story elements, whatever, the ones that they pick and choose onto as you're going in between sessions and tying it all back together, listen to what your players have to say, because they're going to have some great ideas that you would have never thought of, connecting these two seemingful random things. And of course, they really are random, but to them, when the brain tries to find a pattern, it'll see a pattern in chaos even when there's none there. So take their ideas, don't use all of them every single time, but sometimes, let them be right, because then they feel awesome, you feel awesome, and everybody wins. So, in short, remember, just make a bunch of shit up and you'll probably be fine. Alright, thanks for watching. Hopefully that made like a little bit of sense and was not just incoherent rambling, but maybe it was. Either way, if you want to see more stuff like this, please go ahead and subscribe. Check out the website. Sometimes I write articles, sometimes I don't. I can just talk into the camera for days, or I can actually make useful content if you guys tell me, or girls, what you want me to make. So, thanks.